If you've watched my last few videos, you might have noticed I've really been changing things up a lot in terms of camera angles, background, and so on. And I really like this setup. But if I'm too far away, then, that's no good for anyone. So let me know. Like, if I were to show you something, sit here, talk to you like this, normally I'm much closer to the camera. Anyways, today's video, I don't even know how to begin. I picked up creative writing as a hobby for no particular reason at all. I woke up one day and was like, I want to try to write something. And when it comes to media, whether it be movies, TV shows, books, etc., I'm very drawn to the dystopian fiction slash post-apocalyptic genre. And that includes video games too, if I didn't mention that. So that's just where my mind went to, and so I have written a dystopian fiction novella slash short novel, I guess. And so in this video, I am going to read for you the first chapter of the book I wrote. Further, afterwards, and by the way, it's about 12 and a half, 13 minutes, so it's not terribly long. Keep in mind it is just chapter 1. And afterwards, I'm going to talk about especially the challenges and the struggles I've faced in writing this book, as well as a little bit about my creative process and so on. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. It's pre-recorded, it's soft-spoken, not whispered. And I want to give a trigger warning. It is very dark. And, if you think this chapter 1 is dark, man, this book got dark. Maybe I have some demons I need to deal with. I don't know. But, anyways, here it is. 1, 2, 3. Please don't let there be a 4th. Okay, only 3. Good. We're really starting to get a hang of this whole smoke signal communication thing. I guess people from thousands of years ago used this system to communicate when there was no alternative. Dax tells me there's a rich history behind it all. I don't really give a just as long as it works. When we adopted this system, we laid out some basic codes. 3 smoke rings meant, hey, I want to talk to you. Come by at your earliest convenience. This usually involved the 2 of us drinking whatever booze we could find, or popping any spare painkillers laying around. But 4 smoke rings. This meant danger, emergency. It meant get your ass over here now. Neither of us had to use this signal yet. Prior to this system, Dax had the idea of training messenger birds, but every single one flew off in the opposite direction with the letter attached to its leg. I don't even know how he caught the damn things, much less how he expected to train them. It's hard to believe that just a few years ago everyone was FaceTiming, calling, texting. Smartphones were abundant and people were glued to the things. I can't even remember the last time I saw one. Must be, about 10 years ago at least. It was a Saturday, and I had nothing else going on, so I figured I'd head right on over. I opened up my windowsill and placed my coffee can upon it. I'd filled it with a tar-like mixture of oil and other flammable chemical substances. Once lit, I covered it with a small sheet of plywood, allowed the smoke to gather and lifted off just once, sending a black puff of smoke into the air. One puff meant yes, 2 puffs meant no. I snuffed out the fire and headed downstairs, hoping to get out the front door before my mom dumped the usual list of chores on me. I was unlikely to succeed. Sure enough, as soon as she caught sight of me, her list of demands became clear. First, I was to clean the floors. Horsehair broom, no vacuum. Sweeping the floors was pretty much an everyday occurrence because every morning you could find scattered refuse and debris from outside, as well as drywall dust and rat droppings littering the place. It was quite common to find holes in the walls of everyone's houses where the residents cut, smashed, and otherwise ripped out their once mandated surveillance unit. They were wired into the walls underneath the drywall so as to say, "We're always listening," without shoving it in anyone's face. Too bad for me, these holes made perfect nests for rats and other critters. After that, I was to head out to the local lake to cut out a fresh block of ice. I vaguely remember people using tech known as refrigerators to keep food and drinks cold, keep it from spoiling. Oh, how I longed for that luxury right now. You see, after it all went down, most people, my mom included, became a little paranoid when it came to technology. I don't blame her. Hell, you couldn't even buy a fridge that didn't have a screen, camera, and internet connection anymore. Better safe than sorry, is what she'd say. After hauling home a large chunk of ice, which I sawed out of the surface of the frozen lake, I was finally free. I took off out the front door while my mom heaved it into the icebox. "Just in time, too," she muttered. I sat outside and started the short walk over to the Hideout. It was a short walk, but there was certainly no shortage of sights to behold. What a dump, I thought. Billowing smoke and dumpster fires, piles of garbage, bones and metal scraps all littered the streets. The occasional rotting body could be found too, but those weren't too common. Usually when someone died, their bones were picked clean the very same day. There wasn't any time for the body to start to decay. It sounds barbaric, but hey, meat is meat. It was ingrained in us that it's all a part of life. Our purpose was to serve the establishment, and your body could serve further purpose to others even after you were gone. I looked up to the sky. Nothing out of the ordinary. The same old green and brown, poisoned with pollution. I rubbed my hands together and blew hot breath into them. It was always so cold here. It was cold because fog and thick layers of pollution stopped any sunlight from shining through. I marched through the city streets, if you could call them that, facing the usual bombardment of the bustling market, passing by junk salesmen, desperate people just trying to scrape enough credits to get by. Everything from weapons and protective armor, gadgets, gizmos, odds and ends from the old world, even a former surgeon offering a month's worth of canned goods in exchange for a kidney or part of your liver. "It doesn't have to be your own organs," he said. "Grandma getting old? Why not live like a king? Spoil yourself." Kept my eyes pinned forward and continued walking. Better not to engage with any of it unless you really needed something badly. "Viren! Hey, Viren!" I looked over and saw Mrs. Triton working her usual meat stand. "Hi, Mrs. T," I muttered. "Listen, Vi, my supply is getting really low. I heard from Dravish that there was a deer spotted on the outskirts of town just 2 days ago. If you're up for it, 100 credits if you bring it to me." I'd taken up hunting small game in exchange for enough credits to keep me alive. Mrs. T actually paid a decent price for it, too. Since I'd been dishonorably discharged from the youth military for refusing to execute one of my own squad members, I saw it fit to use my combat and tracking skills to put credits in my pocket, at the very least. I was thinking about heading out tomorrow, I said in a haste. I'll keep an eye out for it. Good boy, she said as she patted me on the arm. As I turned to continue my journey to the hideout, I noticed a small black puff of smoke on the horizon. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no. My mouth went dry, my heartbeat elevated. I had to get there, now. Our hideout was at least 4 kilometers from either of our houses. This made it easy to get away from the prying eyes and ears of the CCED, otherwise known as the Civilian Control Enforcement Division. But it wasn't without its headaches. The path was treacherous, piled high with broken down cars and derelict run-down buildings. Cracked pavement made the ground uneven. The slightest misstep might result in a cut or scrape, and trust me, the last thing you wanted out here was to get an infection. You see, humans' immune systems, mine included, had been completely destroyed by a series of experimental shots disguised as vaccines. They were forced on the public on a global scale in response to a pandemic that the government themselves had created. To put it plainly, if you got even the slightest infection, you might as well say your prayers, except praying had been outlawed too. I maneuvered my way through the narrow alleyway that led straight to the hideout, through this car's front seat, overtop the fallen billboard, and take a left down the second alleyway. And there it was, the hideout, looking the same as always. It was in the back of a broken-down semi-truck, which back in the day I assumed would have carried products from location to location. It was decent. The way it was wedged in between 2 narrow alleys and surrounded by other broken-down vehicles meant it was actually pretty well concealed. We never had any stragglers approach while we were inside. We'd been using it as our hideout for years. Dax and I had collected various odds and ends out in the wastes, like a couch and an old coffee table, things to make it feel more homey, I guess you could say. It wasn't much, but it was my home away from home. I gave 3 hard, solid knocks to the back door. Then I heard the scuttling sound of footsteps and a loud clatter as the rear door rolled open. "Took you long enough," said Dax. "Sorry, got caught up with chores. My mom needed ice again," I said as I stepped up and closed the door behind me. Dax was shorter, skinny like everyone, and had jet black hair, which he took pride in ensuring it was always neatly combed and in its place. Personally, I never bothered with trying to look good. I just didn't see the point in it. He wore a torn checkered flannel tucked into what must have been khaki pants originally, only now they were a burnt brown color. He had his signature comb sticking out of his breast pocket, as always. "What's up? I thought there was an emergency," I demanded. "Remember 4 smoke rings means trouble?" "Well, it's not trouble, per se. Not yet, anyways." Dax spoke with a devious grin. "You are not gonna believe what I found." Dax was an orphan, and so he had plenty of free time to explore the untouched ruins of surrounding towns and municipalities. To his credit, he always had some new gadget or trinket to entertain us with. Me, on the other hand, I had my mother to take care of, and a lot more responsibilities. I sometimes envied Dax and the freedom he had to go and do as he pleased. Well, as free as you could be in these times, anyways. "Don't tell me," I started. "Is it another get-rich-quick scheme or outdated piece of tech that doesn't work?" "See for yourself," Dax said. He pulled from behind him a slim, shiny, clean metal briefcase. It looked very out of place in this shabby, dirty rust bucket we were sitting in. He proceeded to unlock each of the buckles slowly for dramatic effect. He liked to do this. His eyes fixed on me with a gaze, he slowly opened the case. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I saw. This was going to change everything. All right, and we are back. So I'd really appreciate it if you let me know in the comments what you think. I'm open to constructive criticism, but before you do that, let me have my little post-reading ramble and explain some things. So it turns out that to write a book of this genre is very difficult to do. Not difficult in the sense that it's like too emotional or you can't think of anything. It's like, at least in my experience, everything I thought of has already been done. Like, you think dystopian and you might think, okay, I could write about the last person left alive. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, that's been done. Look at I Am Legend. Okay, what about human-like robots that are replacing people in society? Wow, that would be cool. Well, that's Fallout 4, the video game. You know what I mean? What about in the dystopian future? Like, nobody has any rights and it's all super, super controlled. Well, that's A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and so on. 1984 by George Orwell. Fahrenheit 451. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. And so, from listening to what I wrote, some of it might sound similar. Like, oh, I've kind of heard something like this before, and I've found that to be completely unavoidable. Like, I am not trying to copy or emulate anything. I'm trying to really come up with a unique story. It just so happens that anything I think of, I can think, oh yeah, been done there. It's been done there. It's been done there. It's been done there. You know what I mean? So, rather than try to fight it, I'm just acknowledging, hey, I take inspiration from a lot of different media, like the video games, the movies, the TV shows, the books, etc. The plot, as this book continues on, is pretty unique in my opinion. So, when talking about the writing process, I had no idea what I wanted to write at all. I literally just started writing, and I'm not done the book. I don't know if I made it seem like I am. I'm done about 5 chapters of it. Yeah, no idea where I wanted the story to go. No characters had any names, no plot points, nothing. Like, it's been pure improvisation and just writing as I go. But I am at the point where I do know where the story is going to go, and it gets real heavy. Some real plot twists thrown in, and I'm super excited to keep writing. So, take it easy on me in the comments, right? Like, I was apprehensive of even making this video because I've never written anything before. That's my absolute very first attempt, with just a few little revisions and changed up a few things before I was ready to read it to you. I'm definitely no author nor an editor. I'm sure there's some mistakes in there along the way. One thing I think I'm definitely gonna do is change it from a first person perspective to a third person perspective. perspective. So rather than I did this, I did that, it's he did this, he did that, or Viren in the case of that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. You guys know me. I put a variety of content on this channel, and I just